Our hearts are heavy today as we lost a member of the First Take family. Our director here on First Take, Kurt Ackerman, lost his 5-year battle with cancer yesterday. We had the pleasure of being on the same team as Kurt for the last 6 years. He was a major part of this show's success. We will miss his...
Went wrong for the Lakers.
They pretty much just kicked our ass. I mean, there's nothing else really to say. It's been a roller coaster for us all year, especially with injuries.
LeBron and Anthony Davis out for the Lakers, lost again.
How much ground do they lose come playoff time?
The Phoenix Suns have beaten the defending champion.
It's been mentally draining, spiritually, emotionally draining. And given everything we had up until this moment, made a better man win.
Well, life's a little too real right now, so that is why I am so grateful we have this distraction called sports and the NBA playoffs. We got into this business for a reason, right, Max?
Beats working for a living, for sure.
For sure. Hey, Stephen A., good to see you. Great work on all the coverage out there from L.A. I know it's been a long night. Gentlemen, let's get into it. It feels all sorts of wrong saying this, but LeBron James bounced out of the first round for the first time in his career. The Lakers sent packing on an early summer break. AD, a shell of himself, couldn't contribute anything. CP3 also banged up, not adding much, but Devin Booker, a man amongst boys, dropping 47 and a 13-point win, sealing the deal in 6. Now it's on to the Nuggets. As for LeBron and the Lakers, rehab time.
I want to be out there for the team, you know, in a situation, win or go home. Obviously didn't want to just lay down and not be able to do what I can. It never really felt good, but like I say, you know, I once God, just the competitive nature in me to go out and help the team, you know, as best as I could. My body didn't agree.
You know, it doesn't matter to me as far as, you know, not making it out of the first round. What matters to me is getting this team back healthy. You know, me not being able to be at my full strength throughout this series, you know, that's my main focus. But, you know, time to you know, readjust and think about what the offseason has in store.
Max?
Yep.
I'm not going to lie. If I was a betting woman, I thought we'd be back in L.A. watching them defend their crown again, but that is not the case. Out in the first round, obviously a lot of injuries. What went wrong for L.A.?
Well, we would have been out there, for sure. Injuries, period. There's no one who can tell me you watched that series, and I was high on the Suns from the preseason. There's no one who could tell me you could watch that series and say, if LeBron and AD would have been healthy, it would have even gone 7 games. It would not have. The Suns would have gone out in 5 or 6 games. We saw when they were just healthier. They weren't 100%, just healthier. The Suns couldn't beat that team. No. When AD got hurt, because it's Mother Nature, he grew a foot in high school in 1 year. Like his connective tissue, whatever it is. I'm not going to question his work ethic in the offseason and stuff like that. I'm sure he puts in work. No, it's just some people are built differently, physically, more injury prone. AD is one of those dudes. So, and there have been other players like that, you know, great players who haven't been able to stay on the field of play consistently, but when they are, can be champions. Like, I don't know, AD last year. Yeah, no, you're right. People, well, he's not reliable. Yeah, that's true. But when he's on the court with LeBron, good luck anyone in the West stopping them. The Suns wouldn't have. The issue was injuries. That's it. And by the way, then the pressure everyone put on him to play. He clearly wasn't ready to play. You could see by his gait when he walked on the court. He should not have been out there. That discombobulated the Lakers. They fell down by 20-plus points. And even though they fought back, because even on a bad ankle without AD, that's how great LeBron is, it was clear they didn't have a chance. With LeBron and AD healthy, they win. They were hurt. They lost. Simple as that.
It's not as simple as that, but I can understand how somebody like you would deduce it to that point, because that's what, you know, good, congratulations to you. I believe that the Los Angeles Lakers still would have won this series, but I picked it in 7 games at the beginning of the series, and I believe you did too.
Yep.
Which means that you had, before Anthony Davis got hurt, you had the Phoenix Suns winning 3 games. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's before Anthony Davis got hurt.
Well, he was already hurt, Stephen A. He was just coming back.
Well, he was coming back, but he had come back and he had looked pretty damn good, and he didn't have the groin injury. So the point is, we picked them to win in 7 games, and we both believe that would have happened, but I still believe it would have gone 7 games. And I think that the Phoenix Suns validated that, A, because of how DeAndre Ayton played consistently throughout the series, B, because of the coaching that we witnessed and how the Lakers' suspect shooting was exposed, C, because of Devin Booker's star status, because this brother is real and he's bona fide, and Anthony Davis wasn't going to do much to negate that unless he was guarding Devin Booker outside of the three-point line, which I don't think would have happened. And of course, the leadership of CP3. Remember, he's been injured in this series too. If he didn't get injured and Anthony Davis didn't get injured, that's where we get the 7-game series for. But I'll also tell you what also went wrong with the Los Angeles Lakers, other than Anthony Davis's injuries, Max. How about Rob Pelinka and Frank Vogel? How about Rob Pelinka? You lose Rajon Rondo. You let him walk away and sign a 2-year, $15 million deal with the Atlanta Hawks. How about losing Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee? Since you knew you were going to have to play big boy basketball, and they're the ones who helped Anthony Davis stay healthy last year because he wasn't asked to do but so much on the interior because you had those big bodies that the Lakers threw at people last year. How about that with the Rondo, Dwight Howard, and JaVale McGee being gone? And how about Frank Vogel somehow, some way not figuring out that the durability of Anthony Davis was always historically a question mark, and you acquired a 6th man of the year at the time in Montrezl Harrell, and somehow, some way, he's only averaging 6 minutes per game in this series heading into last night. You didn't figure out how you were going to need to utilize him. I think those things played a significant role in what happened to the Lakers last night as well.
Well, look, they lost Rondo. They picked up Schroeder. There's no way to know how Schroeder's going to respond to pressure until you see him in pressure. He ain't no playoff Rondo. We know that now, but a better regular season player. They lost Dwight. They pick up Drummond as a buyout. Like, Drummond helped them actually at times in the regular season. He wasn't good in the playoffs. And I agree with you about Montrezl Harrell. He didn't get a lot of burn, but you lose JaVale McGee, you pick up Montrezl Harrell. I don't know. On paper, at least in the regular season, it looks like, if anything, they improved the roster a little bit. You got to find out about guys in the moment of truth. I'll agree about that. But there was no real moment of truth. Well, for Schroeder there was. We found out some stuff. Because they were hurt. The stars were hurt.
Max, we also celebrate. Let's remember what we celebrate when we talk about Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They win a Super Bowl championship, and they retain all 22 starters. So you could have given these dudes an opportunity to defend their crown, but because you're not Steve Ballmer, you don't have those kind of deep pockets. If you're the Buss family owning a majority share of the Los Angeles Lakers the way Ballmer does, you're more judicious. You're not as judicious with doling out those dollars, and you're going to be more tight budget-wise. You got to take that into consideration. And just as an aside, Max, Molly, LeBron James wasn't healthy either. We know he's still recovering from that ankle sprain. We know he wasn't 100%, but I'm going to call him out this morning for this reason. He walked off that court without really shaking hands with anybody. You know what? It's amazing how everybody receives praise. LeBron James has been beating up on people for a long time. 4 championships, 10 trips to the NBA Finals. He's been beating up on people for a lot of times. He and that wasn't the first time he left. He walked off with about 5 minutes left in Phoenix, and we didn't even bring that up. We don't know if he went back and got treatment or whatever the case may be. You just left the damn court when your team was getting blown out. So you couldn't stick around when they were getting blown out of Arizona in Game 5. And then last night, you walk out and don't say, and just, it's not good sportsmanship. We expect better. If it were anybody else, we'd call him out. It's LeBron James. We damn sure need to mention that. That was kind of classless.
I mean, I'll tell you the truth. You know what my impression was? He's just not used to losing in the first round. He's not even thinking about all that. Mm-hmm. I hear you. Let's see how LeBron addresses that in the coming days.
Doesn't have to.
Stephen A.,
doesn't have to.
As guys get older, and you're blaming Pelinka, I can't blame Pelinka for the roster. They had limited things that they could do. I think you have a point with Vogel. You can say LeBron is getting older, and I've made this point. As you get older, you get more injury prone. You have to take that into consideration. But LeBron's ankle, even on the bad ankle, even without AD in the game, down almost 30 points, he brought his team back to within single digits in that game.
I didn't say anything about how he played. I didn't say anything about how he played. I thought it was valiant how he played. And
when the fight was lost, he left.
And by the way, let me also say this, Max, to Anthony Davis, because I listened to Anthony Davis last night talk about he ain't got nothing to prove to anybody or whatever. Don't start that. I'm not going to let these players do that. Anthony Davis No one, see, they try to misconstrue. Every time a little bit of criticism comes their way, they try to misconstrue. Anthony Davis deserves a lot of credit for going out there and trying to play. He deserves a lot of credit for that. No one questions the greatness of you, Anthony Davis, when you are healthy. We know you top 5 on the planet. All anybody has ever questioned is your durability. Yeah. And that's a huge question mark when you consider the fact that your stablemate, your man is approaching his 19th season now at age 30.
And we're going to get into that a little bit later, for sure. And obviously, he's had 8 injuries this season, but I will say this is the shortest offseason ever in NBA history, just 71 days. Guys, let's keep it rolling. 34 points per game this postseason. Dame time, it wasn't enough. Getting knocked out in the first round in 6 games, the Joker continuing to have an MVP season, 36, 8-6. As Denver now moves on to face the Suns, leaving one of the best players in the game in Lillard pondering his future. Dame, talk to us.
I mean, we didn't win a championship, so obviously where we are now isn't good enough. I don't know what a shakeup looks like or what changes will be made or could be made. But obviously, as is, it wasn't good enough. We came up short against a team without their starting point guard and shooting guard. Will Barton didn't play, and Jamal Murray didn't play, and we came up short. So. Isn't good enough to win a championship if it's not good enough for us to get out of a first round series with 2 of their best 3 or 4 players not on the floor.
All right, so pay attention to this. The internet sparking. He posted a picture of his walk-in outfit. We don't have that for you, but check it out on IG. Fresh to death, the man can dress. But I want to focus on the caption. This. How long should I stay dedicated? How long till opportunity meets preparation? Shout to Nipsey Hussle. Stephen A., I'll start with you here. Last time that I checked, another shout to Nipsey Hussle. He's still the man. Is this the end of Dame time in Portland?
I have a hard time saying so. And the reason I have a hard time saying so is because that's my man. I love him to death, and I've spoken to him on many, many occasions over the years, many occasions. Molly, Max, this dude is dogged about his love for the city of Portland and his commitment to the Blazers organization. I want him with the Knicks. I mean, that would be a dream come true for me to have a clutch deal like that.
Of course.
Shut up with the Knicks talk.
Well, listen to me. I'm trying to educate you, brother. I told you I spoke to him. I'm just trying to give you information.
You're saying it's one of these read between the lines situations.
I'm trying to, no. I spoke to him, not yesterday, but I've spoken to him on many occasions. And I'm confessing to you, I mean, just like I brought up the Knicks to you, I brought up the Knicks to him. And he'd say, get the hell away from me with that. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what I was getting to. Yeah, so he feels like Max does. He said that on many, many occasions. But he is made of a different ilk, y'all. He's frustrated right now, knowing him the way that I do. He has a right to be. He's not the kind of person that wants to go to L.A. and play with LeBron. He's not made of that ilk. He's not built that way. He's got 4 years and $196 million remaining on his contract. You got to trade the farm to get equitable compensation in return for him. So it seems to be a daunting task. Here's what I would tell you. In his perfect world, it's about somebody coming to Portland to join him, not about him going elsewhere to join them. And that's going to be a pretty hard sell for the Portland Trailblazers. And it's time somebody brought this up. I understand management. I look at Nurkic. I have no use for him. I know Jokic is no joke. But to abuse Nurkic like that and Nurkic to have no response is just pathetic, where Enes Kanter has to come in there and try something. Okay? You look at C.J. McCollum. He ain't Damian Lillard, but he's pretty damn good at making good money. I've always stated to both of them, to their face, the combination of the two can't win because they're smaller guards and they can score on anybody, but defense is going to be a problem. You got to overcompensate. You look at Terry Stotts. When do we sit up there and say he's not the guy? Now, I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve to be a head coach in the NBA. What I'm saying is he's the kind of guy that knows his X's and O's. He knows what he's doing. But in terms of being a leader that can galvanize the troops and maximize the potential around you, I don't think Terry Stotts has ever shown that. And at some point in time, you've been there forever. I mean, my God, when do you make some kind of switch, not just with personnel, but with coaching. Because clearly whatever you have ain't going to get it done. And they never do it. And that's why Damian Lillard has expressed frustration. He's tired of going down like this, wasting a 55-point performance in Game 5 like they did. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't see it as Neil O'Shea. What you're just pointing out, I see it as Neil O'Shea, not Stotts in that case, Stephen A. Look, we know that Portland doesn't have quite enough. It's not a market that's going to attract high-priced free agents or where guys are going to demand to get traded to. So if you do find that Damian Lillard needs another superstar with him. He doesn't have that. But to give up the farm to get a superstar, they're going to let Portland know, I'm not staying in Portland, most likely. So what do? It's not enough. They may have to trade McCollum, although Anthony Simons, he's only 21, can jump out the gym, can shoot. They have some interesting pieces that maybe they could cobble something together and bring in a third guy along with Lillard and McCollum to kind of put them over the top or get them to the next level. The Knicks, Stephen A., I don't know why. If I'm the Trailblazers, the Knicks could offer me every asset they have, every player on the roster, and all their draft picks. Why would I trade that for Damian Lillard? Forget that. No, is it the end of Dame time in Portland? I don't think it is. I think they're going to have to make a move to make the roster better along the lines of what I just said. Figure out whether it's McCollum or maybe even, because you're right, they're small guards, or maybe even package other interesting pieces, draft picks they have together to bring in a third guy who's not Carmelo Anthony. Oh, look at that. He has more left than we thought. But a guy who's still an all-star caliber player. But Stephen A., even then, is that a championship roster? Damian, is it a championship roster?
Listen. Let's be clear. I answered the question to tell you what Damian Lillard told me as to what his thinking has been consistently throughout the years. His position has never changed. Last night was the first inkling of any kind of change in his persona. I know a whole bunch of people, I should say a whole bunch of people because he doesn't have a whole bunch of people in his inner circle because he don't roll like that. But the people in his inner circle I know well as well. And all of them feel he should leave. I feel he should leave. A guy like that does not belong in a small market. A guy like that needs to be on center stage with the eyes of the basketball world descending upon him because he's that kind of talent. He's that big time. But if you're going to sit up there and say, well, he ain't going anywhere, we going to keep him here, then don't you need to exhaust every means and measure to make sure he has what he needs? Yeah. Don't you need to alter your roster if you're Neil O'Shea? If you start, Max, he's been there 9 years. They've gotten out of the first round 3 times. Again, I'm not saying the man can't coach. I'm not saying he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm not saying he doesn't belong to be a head coach. Nate McMillan did a good job in Indiana, but he didn't get out of the first round. He lost his job. He ended up going to Atlanta and showing that he needed to be in a better market than Indiana or a better situation. Terry Stotts is not the guy that is going to get this particular Portland Trailblazers roster to any kind of promised land.
Let's be honest.
He's not that guy.
Yeah. I just want to show everybody that IG post because we talked about it a little bit before. We didn't have it, and I'm told that we have it now. There you can see the Nipsey Hussle quote, the pic, the whole thing. Obviously, no accident that he's putting that out there after that loss.
Well, speaking of Nipsey Hussle, he's feeling himself because he's got the keys to the city. I mean, that's a. But
Mac,
look,
Mac, before you go, I just got a text from somebody. They will remain nameless, but they got. Let's just say they have incredible credibility when it comes to basketball, and they mentioned to me, Karl Anthony Towns, maybe in Portland. And you make a move involving Nurkic, McCollum, or whomever,
and bringing
Karl Anthony Towns to join, and another person that they, I'm not saying Golden State should ever give him up, and he shouldn't consider leaving, but if Portland had a shot to get a Draymond Green. And a Karl Anthony Towns.
Yep, now you're talking.
With Damian Lillard.
Now you're talking.
I mean, it's worth thinking about.
Still ain't going to win a championship, but now you're talking. Here's the problem. Neil O'Shea is an excellent GM, but he's not like one of the 3 best GMs in the league. I think Stotts is an excellent coach. I would also agree he's not one of the 3 best coaches in the league. Damian Lillard is a great player. He's not one of the 3 best players in the league or 6 best players in the league, or maybe he's top 10 in some years. And the problem is, that entire franchise from Lillard to the GM to the coach is competent enough to be good every year. You're never going to have a crazy high draft pick. and not good enough, frankly, to win a championship. So absolutely, they have to make a big, bold move for a player at least as good as Dame if they want to win a championship and keep Lillard.
Right. By the way, are we having this conversation because Damian Lillard once apparently is considering leaving? Or are we having this conversation because, once again, we're looking for help for LeBron James? Why are we having this conversation? I just want to know. I'm not saying the conversation shouldn't be had. I just want to know what is our intent. I think that's a legitimate question we need to revisit
think
on
the
this
Lakers
show.
could get Damian Lillard?
No, I'm saying we need to consider, let's take a deep breath, and we need to consider before this show ends answering the question, are we having this conversation about Damian Lillard needing to leave Portland? Or are we having this conversation because once again, yet another season has come up and we're thinking about the help that LeBron James
we're not going to have LeBron slander on this show today. We get into that.
I'm not slandering.
We'll get into
I'm
that.
asking a question.
As far as Dame, taking his team to the playoffs last 8 seasons, in those playoffs, 22 30-point games. He is so clutch. Man deserves more.
We fought, made runs, guys left it all on the floor tonight, and we get ready for next year. We get ready to have a full off season. Everyone heal up, especially the guys that say hurt a lot this year. Your bodies, rest your bodies, and get ready for next season. That's all we can do. That's what I'm going to do. Let the body heal and get right back to it.
The way this year went, will you take anything into the offseason feeling like you have to prove stuff all over again a little bit?
No, I don't. I don't have to prove nothing to anyone. When I'm not going to prove anything to anyone, it doesn't matter to me. Things that everyone is saying, it comes with the territory. When you're a player of my caliber, guys are going to expect things from you and going to say things from you. Whatever their reason is my job to be on the floor. So I don't need to prove anything to anyone that's outside this Lakers organization.
All right, so AD tried to play through the pain, but wasn't able to add anything. No points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. He exited after only 5.5 minutes in the first. He's had 8 injuries this season alone. Charles Barkley referring to missed street clothes. He's missed a third of the potential games over the last 3 years. NBA champion Kendrick Perkins joining the conversation. Before we get into the debate, I understand, Stephen A., you had something that you wanted to address.
Yeah, we were talking about Damian Lillard a bit earlier. I just had somebody reach out to me, one of the players. Apparently, a lot of people have been eliminated over the last couple of days, as you all know. And as a result, especially when Damian Lillard got eliminated last night, several calls have come their way. You got a lot of teams, about 6 or 7 different teams believe they can get their hands on them. They think they've got a shot. One of them includes the Knicks, who's scheduled to have about $75 million in cap space along with some picks, but also the Clippers, the Miami Heat, and who knows what the Lakers may try to do. Stay tuned. The Damian Lillard news could ultimately be percolating a little bit sooner than later, much to my surprise.
The Clippers are still playing.
And the Clippers are still playing.
Just want y'all to know that. New York. All right, Stephen A., let's get back to Anthony Davis. Great information, though. I'm glad you got that in there. Really interesting stuff. How does AD look today?
He doesn't look bad in terms of his willingness to go out there last night, rather. Everybody knows he was hurt. A matter of fact, the person taking a little bit of heat from it was Frank Vogel, because you could see on the first play of the game that Anthony Davis was grimacing. You saw it, first play of the game. And CP3 instantly saw it, being the killer that he is. CP3 and had everybody on Phoenix. If you go back, and Kendrick Perkins saw this, if you go back and watch the first few plays of the game, everybody that Anthony Davis was guarding touched the ball, because they were trying to get him up out of there, because they could see that he just could not go, okay? And Frank Vogel, for some reason, kept him in for 5 minutes when he should have been out in 1. Having said all of that, feeling the pressure, he went out there and tried to play. And it was right for him to try. You know, I felt he should have tried. Charles Barkley called them street clothes, felt he should have tried, along with various others. And that much is true. But in the end, I would say he looks good because of that. But here's why he doesn't look great. Because he's perpetually injured. And when you have a teammate who's the superstar, who's 36 years of age in his 18th season, well documented that he spends more than $1.5 million every year taking care of his body. Everybody's looking at Anthony Davis because of the multitude of injuries he suffered from. And they're saying, what the hell are you doing with your body? How much work do you really put in the off season? How much do you train? How much do you get in that gym? What are your eating habits like? They're starting to bring stuff like that up because he's always hurt.
Anthony Davis looks good this morning. We look bad. We look bad. He looks good. First of all, Charles Barkley did call him street clothes. I called him Mr. Glass. Stephen A., you were on TV saying, I'm not trying to hear he needs to wait to get cleared. That's it. He needs to play if he can play. Forget about waiting to get cleared. So you know what happened? AD played. It was a valiant effort, right? And you could see right away, everything you said is right about that. He should not have been out there on the floor. And by the way, it discombobulated the Lakers, having him out there. There didn't seem to be a plan if he couldn't play. Like, how are we going to play this? And so they quickly fell behind 20-plus points. And by the way, once AD was out and they adjusted and LeBron started taking over, they cut it to single digits. The team looked like they'd given up. They were going to get buried. They might lose by 40. It was close to 30 at one point. But they got it together, and they cut it to single digits late in the game. Maybe, if they don't play AD from the beginning, maybe they win. And by the way, what was the plan there? Because let's say AD could have played a little bit, and they won with AD, and they got to a Game 7. Now AD can't play at all. What was the point in even playing him in Game 6 when he was hobbled, clearly couldn't play, and it would have precluded him from playing in a Game 7, which you would have needed just as much? Did not make sense to me. He looks good. He went out there and gave it his best shot. He's just physically not built like LeBron. I don't think all the work in the world will change that. We look bad. We are all the ones saying, oh, he's got to play. Look how it turned out.
Well, first of all, Max, who is we? Because I never said that it was a must that he needed to play. Matter of fact, I was one of the guys, if you go back to the Golden State days when Kevin Durant played, that I said he didn't need to play. Why? Because he was still injured. When Kevin Durant played with Golden State and he strained his Achilles, I said, don't play. You have nothing else to prove. And the same with Anthony Davis. We're talking about a guy who just came off of winning his first championship. What the hell do you have to prove to go out there and play hurt to the world? And then, hey, look, Charles Barkley calling the man street clothes. See, that's the problem that we have in today's game, okay, that they didn't have back then. Was that we have social media. We have so many outlets where these guys can see what people are saying about them to put the pressure on them to go out there for 5 minutes like Anthony Davis did last night and show the world that he was too hurt to play. This is not golf. This is not where you have a court where you can have somebody driving you around or you walk to a hole and swing some clubs or something. You need your legs. And the man clearly didn't have his legs. So in my opinion, when I look at Anthony Davis and look at what he did last night, it wasn't about the Lakers. It wasn't about trying to go out there and help his team win. He went out there to try to please people and show people that don't even matter. That don't matter. Like, you have nothing to prove to the world. Nothing. You just won a championship. And at the end of the day, I want to talk about this, Stephen A. To your point about Anthony Davis getting in the gym. You're 100% right. Because you're right there under LeBron James. He shows you on a day-to-day basis a guy that been on the team with LeBron James, and watch how he operates and watch how he moves throughout the course of the day, taking care of his body, getting in the gym early, hitting the weight room, doing things to that nature, his diet and hiring in the chef. Anthony Davis, you have to elevate to that aspect. Right. This offseason is huge for him. You want to see a transformation in his body. Right. And Stephen A., you was dead on with that point.
But and I appreciate that, KP. But in all seriousness, but that's why I was right to say what I said about how he needed to play last night. And when I say he needed to play, what I mean is go out there and try. And if you don't have it, you don't have it. I thought he stayed out there too long. I could see play one, he was grimacing. You see what I'm saying? So the minute I saw that, I would have yanked him. He wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes with me as the coach. I'd have had him out of there in the first 2 minutes. That's what I'm saying. But you had to go out there because of the very point that you just validated, KP. If you know you're not doing all that you could do to be in tip-top peak condition, then essentially, although unintentionally, you left your man hanging because you know he is. And see, this is the part about LeBron James where he does not get enough credit. And at times he is abused. LeBron James doesn't cheat the game physically. LeBron James is always ready to go. And so when you look at it from that perspective, how in God's name are you a teammate of a man? I don't care how great he is. How are you a teammate of a man that's 36 years of age in his 18th season and somehow, some way, he's consistently in better shape than all of y'all? Damn it, go to his house. He got a gym in there. He ain't going to knock you for coming through. He ain't going to knock you for wanting to go and work out with him if that's what you want to do. You want to find out who the hell his nutritionist is? If you're a teammate of LeBron James, just ask him. He'll tell you. You want to know who's training him? You want to know why he lifts weights or what he does to keep himself in peak condition? Ask him. He'll tell you because to benefit yourself benefits him. Somehow, some way, we're not seeing that from somebody like an Anthony Davis. And that's the problem. And that's why he had to at least try to go out there, because you know that you didn't do what you could physically to be in tip-top shape. That's the point I was making, KP.
I'm not disputing that there could be truth to that there's even more that AD can do. I will say that this is not Shaq and Kobe when Shaq postponed surgery on the toe and all that. And so then there was nothing very obvious like that. This is a more subtle point. But I would ask both of you, not to say AD should do everything he can to stay on the court. That's true. Even if AD did that, do you think he would be as healthy as LeBron usually? Like, AD is a tall string bean. You could put on muscle. It's the way he's built. He grew a foot in high school in a year, right? Went from a point guard to a center. That dude, to me, it seems, no matter what he does, he is not put together like LeBron. There are some dudes who are naturally, physically more injury prone. He's a champion. And he just went out and by the way, he came back. He wasn't 100% when he came back, and he was excellent. They beat the Suns late in the year behind AD, 40-something points. When he got into this series in a groove, you could see the Suns couldn't win. So, I don't know. I feel like he's taking a lot of heat for a dude who gave it his best shot.
Max, and this is the point where we're trying to educate you on why he has to elevate his game to another level. Because what happened last year? Anthony Davis went as far as he could possibly go, right? They won a championship. He's never been that deep in the playoffs. So his body had to adjust to something he wasn't accustomed to. Playing for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
When you look at what LeBron James has done over the course of his career, he has what? He's lived in the NBA Finals. He's done it in consecutive seasons. Why? Because he knows what it takes and what to do to put into his body. And you coming up here saying that Anthony Davis can't get better because of his body frame and limbs. No, I'm talking about physically, Max. He can get better physically.
Okay.
We watch guys die.
Okay.
We watch guys, hit the weight room. So I just can't agree with you to that point.
I'll wrap it up by saying this. I totally understand what you're saying in terms of makeup. Max, that's apparent to any of our eyes, but I'm kind of reading between the lines with what Kendrick Perkins and Stephen A. are saying. Likewise. It seems like they know a little bit more about intimate details of the situation. I will add this before we wrap things up. Davis averaged 22 points per game this season, his lowest since 2013, 8 rebounds this season, his lowest ever. We will keep it specific. NBA Countdown starts our coverage, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Devin Booker went off in Game 6 versus the Lakers, scoring 47 points, grabbing 11 rebounds, 22 of those points coming in the first quarter alone as the Suns just dominated the Lake Show. Booker on how his idol, Kobe Bryant, inspired his performance.
I saw when you were walking off the floor into the tunnel, you kind of looked up, you sort of put your hands together. I'm just curious what you were thinking in that moment.
Honestly, I was thinking about Kobe in the conversations that we had, kind of about, what we just went through, the postseason, and being legendary and taking the steps to get there. So seeing that 8 and that 24 up there, with the way that the lighting that Staples has right here, it feels like, it's shining down on you. And I know he was here tonight. I know he was in the building. I know he was proud.
A brilliant hat tip there from Devin Booker. Max, what does the series mean for him?
I call him Mini Mamba, and I'm not the only one. Devin Booker reminds me a lot of a little Kobe. He's not as big as Kobe, not as athletic as Kobe, can't create like Kobe, but his footwork, his fearlessness, his ability to score from anywhere at times where it looks like he doesn't have a shot, that reminds me a lot of Kobe, and it did heading into this series. Let's not forget, I'll bring it up every time, because Chris Paul gets a lot of credit. He hit some daggers last night, by the way, and deserves it. Chris Paul's an all-time great. This team was 8-0 in the bubble before Chris Paul ever got there. Devin Booker went from a guy it's not always easy to tell early in players' career. Is he an empty calorie stats guy on a losing team? No. He scores 70 points, but he's there only. No. As the team got better, Booker got better, or vice versa. He is a star, bordering on a superstar, for a winning team that's now making a playoff run. And as much as I love Chris Paul, Booker's their best player. I love the fact, by the way, when he was pointing up like that, he didn't have to say he was thinking about Kobe. It was obvious, Stephen A.
It was obvious. This dude, I believe he's a bona fide superstar right now. This is his first playoff series, Max. Obviously, he hasn't enjoyed the playoff life until this season. And we see the kind of show that he's put on. I thought the question about his superstar status would be answered come playoff time, because that's when you make a name for yourself. And he has shown that what you've seen in terms of him being a career 23-point per game scorer on 45% shooting from the field, 35% from three-point range. This dude has averaged at least 22 points a game over the last 5 seasons as the number one scoring option for the Phoenix Suns. So you're waiting for the playoffs to arrive to see what you're going to get from him. Is it going to be a different Devin Booker? Is he going to be somebody that takes a step back and wilts beneath the pressure? Or will he rise to the occasion? And sure enough, he most certainly did. And in Kobe's house, the Staples Center, to close out the Los Angeles Lakers, he dropped 47. And then what does he do? He talks about the bright lights. He talks about seeing that number 8 and number 24 jersey hanging in the rafters. He, not one of the Lakers, but him, talked about what an inspiration it was for him to be playing in that building and doing the kind of things that he was doing. When you are a guy that's number one, and then finally the stage is set, and you answer the call, that's when it comes down to it. Sometimes it's when you first arrive in the playoffs, Max. Other times is you could have been in the playoffs before, but it's different. Michael Jordan in the 80s dropped 63 at Boston Garden, and Larry Bird called them God and gym shorts or whatever it was and stuff like that, right? We saw Michael Jordan in the postseason before. But once they had the crew and you knew that the Pistons were champions and here they come. All right, MJ, what you gonna do? And MJ ascended. And it was the people around him who didn't answer the call, the migraine headaches and all of this other stuff before Scottie Pippen ultimately became one of the 50 greatest players in NBA history. I'm just saying, it's moments that define who you are. And I think last night was Devin Booker's moment.
And by the way,
who he is.
I talked about how he's like Kobe, but not as big, not quite as athletic, can't create well, shoots even better. I don't know. We'll see if he's as great a bad shot maker when it matters most over time. But he can shoot the lights out. But I'll say this about whether or not he's a superstar, Stephen A. He may be on his way, and I'm very high on him. You can put him in a group, though, with Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray, Ja Morant, young, shorter players, not tiny guys, but young, shorter players who are offensive juggernauts, who've had big playoff performances already in their careers.
I don't agree with that.
And the question is, among that group, who becomes a superstar, that'll largely be determined by how deep these dudes get into the playoffs.
I don't think you have to pick one in a sport like basketball, Max. There's
how many superstars are there?
I'm just saying, but Max, there could be 30. There could be 30. I mean, literally. In other words, if you're a dude that you're the number one option and night in, night out, you're going to put up these numbers in these buckets. And as the stage ascends, so do you. Okay? Then we have to take into account who you're coached by, the organization you play for, and who you're playing with. And in the case of Devin Booker, let me tell you this. I love me some Jamal Murray. I truly, truly do. But Jamal Murray doesn't do as much during the regular season. And he feeds off of Jokic as well. In the case of Donovan Mitchell, I have no question. That brother's a superstar. That brother's a superstar.
I mean, look,
Donovan Mitchell, there is no question.
Jamal Murray had a game last year, and he had a bunch of great games. He had 50 points and no turnovers in a playoff win. Like, this dude has done some stuff. I agree with you. In the regular season, he doesn't carry as much of a load. But Luka is a superstar. I don't know if the other guys we mentioned are quite there yet, and I don't agree there can be 30. I think at most, like, by definition, not every team can have one. There are levels. There are levels. And Booker is ascending. He is ascending the levels right now.
But Donovan Mitchell is there. We've seen what he's done in the postseason. We've seen what he's done in the regular season, and we see him now. Donovan Mitchell is a superstar.
Maybe.
Yes, the hell he is.
Maybe. I love him,
yes,
but
he is.
Got to do it again and again.
I don't know. He dropped 47 on the defending
Pretty
champion.
good.
It's looking like a superstar to me.
Devin Booker's a superstar talent.
All right.
But Donovan Mitchell's a superstar.
On this show, more important to the Hawks, break down some of the top wide receivers in this year's rookie draft. How should Aaron Rodgers feel about that?
Tom Brady keeps making Aaron Rodgers money. You know, I mean, if the Packers haven't figured it out by now, Aaron Rodgers is calling the shots. Just understand that completely, and then everyone can, as Perk would say, can carry on.
Carry the hell on, he'd say. All right, Stephen A. Yusuf Nurkic's fashion choice ahead of last night's Game 6. It went viral. Social media loved the bold selection. How do you feel about it, sir?
First of all, I don't like it. I thought it did not look that impressive to me. It looked a little bit tacky, number one. Number two, he's the last person in the world that should want to bring attention to himself. Nikola Jokic averaged 33 and 10 on 52% shooting and 43% shooting from three-point range. Yusuf Nurkic should be hiding. He shouldn't be wearing anything that would draw attention to himself.
Yeah, I'm not into it either. The fabric suspect and the tie doesn't go. Max, drama in the social media world. Dennis Schroeder's appeared to take the Lakers out of his Instagram bio for a brief period yesterday, later adding it back on social media. We also have Anthony Davis unfollowing Snoop. We're getting super petty today. After he said Clippers were better than the Lakers. Is this something or nothing?
It's something. First of all, Schroeder took point guard for the Los Angeles Lakers out. Yeah, he was right. He scored 0 points. He had no evidence. There was no evidence he was the point guard for the Lakers. Then he had a decent game. He put it back on. Guys, here's the thing. They're going to have to re-sign him. What are their options? And AD is just mad at Snoop because Snoop was talking Clippers, it looks like to me.
All right, we'll keep it rolling here, guys. After the Game 6 loss last night in Los Angeles, it appeared that LeBron James left the floor without shaking hands with Suns players. Despite that, he was photographed shortly after swapping jerseys, posting photos with Sun star Devin Booker. Big Perk back here with us. Hello. I'm going to start with you, Max Kellerman. How does LeBron look here, kind of blowing off the players, not shaking hands, but then showing love to Booker?
Like he's not used to getting bounced in the first round. I think probably if LeBron could do it again, I'd like to think he would shake hands with everybody, but he was obviously frustrated and maybe disgusted and you know, left without shaking hands. Worse things have happened. The fact that he took the picture with Booker tells me that it's not personal or anything like that against the team. He was not happy about the Lakers' performance. And by the way, guys, the Lakers should have been left for dead at half, right? They're losing by almost 30. LeBron on a bad ankle without AD. When the Lakers had basically run up the white flag, brought them all the way back to single digits. It was a misstep, not the end of the world.
It was a misstep. It wasn't the end of the world, but we have to point it out because if it was anybody else of significance, we would have pointed it out with them. Not to mention the fact that LeBron James doesn't mind being celebrated, and it's well-deserved because he's the second greatest player to have ever played the game of basketball as far as I'm concerned. I don't give a damn how much we talk about LeBron James. We spend far more time acknowledging his greatness than we do criticizing him. And in the end, he's a guy that understands who he is, brings up words like leadership, brings up words like influence, brings up words like power and community and things of that nature and being a role model. Well, guess what? It's nice that you took that picture. You probably took that picture with Devin Booker and what have you, even more so. Not to say you wouldn't have done it because I know you would have, but you probably did it even more so because you know how it looked for you to follow walking off the court in Game 5 when y'all were getting trounced by 30 to walking off the court last night without shaking everybody's hands who had defeated you. It's something that we brought up. Isaiah Thomas and others have had it held against them for eternity. Why would we ignore the fact that LeBron James elected to do that last night? That was very classless on his part. It ain't the end of the world. It doesn't make him a bad person. He is an incredible, incredible role model. But in the end, the bottom line is last night wasn't one of those shining moments. Period.
At the end of the day, who cares, man? The reason he walked off the court, it had nothing to do with the Phoenix Suns. We already know his relationship with Chris Paul, the godfather of one of his childs, I believe, his children, his oldest child. And we know,
that's true.
Look, he not only did he give Devin Booker a jersey, it was a whole paragraph on there. You know what LeBron James did? This was a sign of frustration towards his teammates. And I probably would have did the same damn thing, having to watch Kyle Kuzma play the game of basketball. Me watching and having to go out there and actually play with him, watching him do crazy things, idiotic things, possession by possession, when they're trying to claw their way back into the game. He probably wanted to hurry up, get to his locker, get the jersey signed, get it to Devin Booker, get in the shower, so he wouldn't have to have a disagreement or something with one of his teammates who didn't show up to the playoffs. It had nothing to do with the Phoenix Suns and him shaking hands. I'm pretty sure that him and CP3 probably went to dinner last night, Stephen A.
Kendrick Perkins, you're absolutely right. It had nothing to do with the Phoenix Suns. It was definitely born out of frustration. But you just lied to the American public. And see, here's the thing that everybody needs to know about Kendrick Perkins. Kendrick Perkins, that mean mug and all of that other stuff, you're a good brother. And you pay attention to how things look just as well as you pay attention to how they are. And the fact of the matter is, you know good and damn well, if a team just spanked you on your court, you would not have gotten up, your frustration, you would have took out your frustration on your teammates when you got inside that locker room, but that would not have stopped you from going on the court at the end of the game. Again, it's not a big deal. I'm not saying it's a big deal. I'm just saying that if it were anybody else, we would be saying something about it. And we're going to point that out about LeBron as well. You would have shaken their hands.
This is why I'm going to tell you where you're wrong, okay? And I'm going to tell you on how I feel. I coach my son 9-year-old team, right? AAU. And if we lose, we don't shake hands. And when we beat people, the other team, we don't shake hands. We go about our business. It's just the way it is. And it is what it is. At the end of the day, he walked off the floor knowing Monty Williams know how LeBron James feel about him. Chris Paul know how LeBron James feel about him. Devin Booker, I mean, like he has come on social media plenty of times praising how great of a player Devin Booker is. Talk about how D Book always gets snubbed or he's underappreciated, things to that nature. And all I'm saying is at the end of the day, in the moment, when you're trying to claw your way back into the game, and you got to go out there and Stephen A. and Max, listen. Kuzma was playing so bad last night that I made my kids stop watching the game. I literally watching the game.
He was awful.
Because
he was awful.
Picking up bad habits on how to play the game of basketball. So me watching it, us watching it, imagine being on the court with him and having to go through that and deal with that.
Max, I stand corrected. I stand corrected because Kendrick Perkins was a part of those Boston Celtics team, including one that lost to the Miami Heat, and KG walked off the court. And KG wasn't trying to shake their hands at all, where Ray Allen stayed on the court. So you had teammates that would do something like that. I feel you. I got it.
Can I just say two random things that came to my mind here? First of all, I'm surprised the 9-year-olds don't shake hands. But then the other thing I'm thinking is, why are we still shaking hands? I thought we're in a pandemic.
Actually,
I thought we're not supposed to do that anymore anyway.
Hey, you know what I think?
It's 100% open in Texas. I mean, I don't know about different other areas, but in Texas, everything is 100% open. It's capacity.
You know what I think the news is out of that segment? You have Stone playing against 9-year-olds? What are you trying to do, Kendrick Perkins? You got Stone in a league with 9-year-olds? Come on. It's not even fair. Stone playing against 9-year-olds?
Okay. I'm being told that I'm supposed to ask if LeBron and AD will win another chip together, Perk. I really want to ask you why you're teaching them not to shake hands, but I will listen to my producers. And I will go to you first, Stephen A. Do you think they can?
I think they can, but I don't believe they will. I said it on Get Up this morning. I'll say it again. I think the Lakers' run is over. I really, really do. Anthony Davis and LeBron James will be back, and they'll be lethal, but it's a byproduct of the style of play that exists in the NBA and the people that are coming. Klay Thompson's coming back healthy. Look out for Golden State. Utah is not going anywhere. They're going to be here. Jokic is that dude, and Jamal Murray is coming back healthy, and we've seen the ascension of Michael Porter Jr. We're living in a perimeter-oriented time where you know a lot of success is predicated on guard play and your ability to hit perimeter shots. And by the way, your ability to hit free throw shots as well, which all of those dudes can do. Then we look at the East, KD, Kyrie, and James Harden. They'll be around. Milwaukee's coming. Philadelphia's coming. I just look at the league itself, and the league is in such a great place for LeBron to be getting a year older, for Anthony Davis's durability to still be a question mark. I guess I could be wrong because LeBron can end up imitating MJ because MJ used to bring dudes over to his house and they had to work out with him. Okay. And so LeBron might have to take that challenge of making sure that AD works out with him to get himself in peak condition and to be a bit more durable. But I think those question marks, I think their best opportunity was this year. I think that window is closed. And I don't think LeBron's going to win another title in L.A.
They can win another title. It will take a little bit of luck. Like someone on the big three in Brooklyn would have to be hurt in the finals, something like that, right? But we just saw it just happen with the Lakers. I mean, that's part of the game. That's part of the game. And so if we're going to, we can't just assume, well, they're not going to win another title because AD's injury prone. Well, I mean, KD's been hurt. You know, Kyrie's missed games. James Harden was hurt this year. So we can't just say it's going to happen to the Lakers, but not anybody else. The bottom line about this season, guys, AD and LeBron were hurt. Now, when you get older and LeBron is older, you have a tendency to get hurt more. But even with that, if not for the ankle, they had a chance to win the game last night. They were, again, within single digits. And if AD was even 80%, I think they would have gotten by the Suns. So with these two healthy, Talen Horton-Tucker's another year more experienced. Guys like KCP, you can always find a shooter in the second round in the draft. You can find someone in the G League or overseas who can shoot the ball. When you have two pillars like LeBron and AD, if they're healthy in the playoffs, you got a shot.
I just want to say this. The window is not closed. And we watched because of Rob Pelinka, right? We watched him. He's been aggressive since he's taken over this job. And I think he'll be aggressive this offseason. We don't know what Brad is going to do. We don't know what Damian Lillard is going to do. So I don't see the window closing. I see Rob Pelinka going back to the drawing board and building and going out and get some pieces that could help them. But look, AD is still in his prime. Matter of fact, he just entered his prime. And we're talking about him just doing the necessary steps of dieting and getting into the weight room and things to that nature, then I still like the Lakers' chances of winning another championship.
All right, we'll leave it there. Perk will be back with us in a moment. Guys, we're going to switch gears here when we come back. Wait just ahead of what feels like a plot point from an alternative universe here. Floyd Mayweather speaks on his Sunday night exhibition fight against social media personality turned boxer Logan Paul while throwing in a jab at his brother Jake Paul too. Let's listen.
When you beat Logan on Sunday, the next question is going to be, Jake, does he get revenge? Is that something you thought of if you do it again against the other brother?
Man, once again, these guys
have done good. I take my hat off to these guys. They have done good to fool the public about being some real fighters.
Max? You know a thing or two about boxing. That's what people tell me. Do you agree or disagree with Mayweather that the Paul brothers aren't real fighters?
Well, yeah, I agree with him in terms of what he means. Mayweather's saying they're not real top fighters. Of course not. I don't think they have a lot of, maybe they have a lot of people fooled. I don't think that's what their appeal is. I think they're YouTubers who are popular and said, hey, we want to try to fight. By the way, they could have continued to milk their popularity on YouTube without taking risks, chances with their physical health, or being humiliated publicly or anything like that in a ring, right? But no, they had the guts to step into the ring and make these big events and try to become real fighters. They're novices who are really putting their all into trying to become real fighters, and they're making huge events. Floyd Mayweather acknowledged that too, right? Hey, look, they did great. But when Floyd says real fighters, he's talking about championship caliber fighters or 10-round professional fighters. In boxing, they say it takes like 5-6 years to make a 10-round fighter. It doesn't mean you're a good 10-round fighter, just a guy who can handle himself over 10 rounds. These guys have been at it for, 2 years? And they're making big events.
But if they're not real fighters, why fight them?
Money? That's the same reason. It's prize fighting, If you're Floyd, and he said this on his Instagram, and it's obvious before he said it anyway, he's 50 and up.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to risk for $20 million his against, he's 44 years old, against a young killer, Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence. It makes no sense. Yeah. He can fight Logan Paul for $100 million, and there's nothing at stake for him professionally.
You think that's what'll make like $100 million?
Yeah. And by the way,
Stephen A., you're back. Okay.
And his opponent has no chance to win. Of course. Why wouldn't he do that?
Molly, could you please educate me as to what I had technical difficulties and I could not hear? What did Floyd say?
Floyd said they're not real fighters. Jake and Logan Paul. So basically, I was just asking if you guys agree or disagree. Then I followed up with Max, like, why is he fighting them? He said $100 million. So kind of where are you on that? Do you think they're real fighters?
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I understand Floyd, he could probably make $100 million out of this. They're both, really potent on Instagram. Logan's got like 19 million followers. Jake Paul is at about 15 million followers on Instagram. I'm not going to knock Logan Paul too much because, he wants to be a fighter and he's getting into the ring, albeit retired and considerably smaller, is still the greatest boxer of this generation and one of the greatest fighters ever in Floyd Money Mayweather, who can get up out of his sleep and fight better than 99% of the planet. So we understand that about Floyd, and even though he's considerably smaller, his skill level is just on another level compared to Logan Paul. But you know what? A lucky punch can take you out when you get older. So, beware of that. In the case of Jake Paul, I don't blame Floyd Money Mayweather a little bit. And I hate talking about these guys in a negative fashion because I like both Logan and Jake. And I think that the attention that they bring to the sport, they deserve to be respected and appreciated for it. Because if the promoters didn't mess up the sport so much by denying us the opportunity to see the fights that we wanted to see when we wanted to see them, then we wouldn't have exhibitions like this. But at least Logan Paul is fighting a fighter. Jake Paul getting into the ring with non-boxers, I know it's an exhibition, but if he did that on the street, he could get arrested. Even if it was consensual.
I totally disagree with this.
Even if it was consensual, I know you did. That's why I'm speaking, so you can hear my point and show how you disagree. The point is, I know he can't be arrested or anything, but if you got into a fight on the street with somebody, okay, and you were a boxer and they weren't, yeah, you can't get arrested because they've agreed that it's an exhibition event. But for the most part, you did that in the street, you get arrested. Jake Paul is fighting people who don't box. That's my issue with him. Nothing else. I don't care if it's an amateur boxer. I don't care if it's an amateur boxer. Like you bring up, Max, muscle memory. You taught me that. You talk about muscle memory. Fight somebody that actually boxes.
But he doesn't really have it yet either, Stephen A. He's been doing it for 2 years. Look, I'll say this. He started
fight somebody that's been doing it for 2 years.
But then you can't make a big event. Here's the catch-22 they're in terms of that stuff, right? And it's a good problem to have. They make huge events and make millions and millions of dollars when they fight. And they're big events, and that's part of the reason that we both appreciate what they do, because these guys train hard and fight hard, do their best, and they respect the sport. It's all you can ask, right? People want to pay to see them. This is America. You can do that. So When you look at Jake Paul, he fights a YouTuber, beats them. Now he has to fight a professional athlete. Not everyone thought he was going to beat Nate Robinson. Knocked him out. Then he fights an MMA fighter who's not a striker. Knocks him out. Now he's fighting an MMA striker with a wrestling background, but we know Woodley can strike. If he wins this fight, and I don't know if Woodley's old, he's lost 4 in a row, of course, because in order to make your development, in order to develop as a fighter, you got to be matched with guys you have a chance to beat. But in Jake Paul's case, he's such a big name, you also have to be matched with a guy who the public knows. Now, Stephen A., you know very well, if the public knows your opponent, probably they can fight. So how do you do that? How do you navigate that?
Max, are you going to sit there with a straight face and tell me that Jake Paul couldn't find somebody as popular or more popular than Nate Robinson or Ben Askren? Come on, Max.
No, but he was up to that stage. Now he's up to the next stage. A faded dude, but who can strike. And if he wins this, if he does, it's far from certain, right? Like, who knows? A lot of people take Woodley. I don't know who wins that fight. If he does, then the next dude will be a guy who can strike, who's a little not as quite as past his prime, and so on.
I have a question.
I'm just saying, you don't get into the ring with somebody. You know, Jake Paul. Let's put Jake Paul on Front Street right now. Jake Paul, from my understanding, Max, you follow the boxing community, obviously. Jake Paul, from my understanding, has been being trained by professional fighters for the last 3 years. Professional fighters and trainers. That wasn't Nate Robinson.
Woodley hasn't had a boxing coach?
No, I'm saying that wasn't Nate Robinson. That wasn't Ben Askren. Come on, Max. That's what I'm talking about.
But that's what he was up to then.
No.
He's dipping his toe in the water.
You're acting like he just got his toe in the water and he's going against somebody. This dude has been training legitimately as a fighter for years.
For 2 years.
And you get to the ring with a basketball player?
At that time, he'd been training.
Or a UFC fighter that wrestled?
At that time, he'd been training for like a year and a half. And you know how many fighters throughout the history of boxing, professionals, even champions, early in their career, they get cab drivers. They throw some boxing gloves on them, and it's a win on a dude's record. I mean, that's how it works in the fight game early on.
I don't know if that's working. I don't know if that's the case in this day and age. All I'm saying about Jake Paul, I love what Jake Paul and Logan Paul are doing for boxing because they're bringing attention to the sport. All I'm trying to say is I appreciate the fact that even though it's against a smaller opponent, the bottom line is Logan is getting in the ring
Who do you
with
like,
a professional.
Jake or Woodley? Who do you like, Jake or Woodley? Who do you like in that fight?
Jake, because I think Woodley can knock out anybody. But I think Woodley is an MMA guy. He's a mixed martial artist,
but
not a boxer.
MMA guys have boxing coaches. I'm just letting you know. And Woodley's has been fighting for a long time.
He have a question, and this isn't even to be funny, and I know we need to get to break, so to our producers, but for $100 million, guys, would you get in the ring with Logan or Jake Paul? Like, would you
for $100 million?
For $100 million.
Right now.
Right? I think I would.
No,
I would.
That's Max. I'm the kind of man that believes I'm going to make $100 million doing what I do. I don't have to engage in exhibitions to pull it off. I'm going to get mine.
Okay.
Do you know how many arguments about sports you need to get into to get $100 million?
That LeBron James is eliminated in a first-round series. A vocal supporter of LeBron in the Lakers, Kendrick Perkins, weighing in.
Can somebody tell me what the hell is going on with the Lakers? And don't come giving me this LeBron James stuff. He should have been aggressive. I don't want to hear that. Out there playing with Kyle Kuzma. Did y'all see him today? I had to make my kids go watch something else on television because I didn't want them picking up bad habits on how to play the game of basketball. Watching Kuzma. And then the Schroeder. What are you doing? $100 million? Good luck on that one. Andre Drummond, you get released from the Cavs, you go on a worldwide tour, and you don't even perform. Where you was? Man, look, whatever, man. Shout out to the Phoenix Suns. I hope y'all make it to the finals. Congratulations, y'all earned this. Hey, Lakers, y'all got to do better. Carry on.
Are those walls stucco, Perk? They're really gorgeous. I love Mediterranean homes. KP, why is LeBron out of the playoffs?
Well, it's simple. I mean, last night, my list of role players, I keep saying this. This is a team sport, and the Lakers couldn't make shots. The Lakers couldn't protect the paint. The Lakers couldn't rebound the basketball. Is that all on LeBron James? No, you need a supporting cast. You need guys to help you out. This is why they miss a guy like Rajon Rondo, who elevated his game and helped guys out like Kyle Kuzma, right? Put a key in his back to step his game up and help him guide through the way while LeBron James went to the bench. This is why they miss a guy like Dwight Howard, who had to fill in for injured Joel Embiid and help the 76ers close out the Wizards last game. Like, the role players matter. They matter. And if we're going to sit up here and talk about a guy that's in his 18th season and LeBron James, who finished with 7 and 9, I believe it was last night, with no help whatsoever. And all those Laker fans out there who had something to say about Danny Green, y'all were wrong, okay? Yeah, he missed a huge shot in Game 5, I believe it was last year. But one thing we know about Danny Green is that he's a gamer. He's a shot maker. And those same shots that Caldwell Pope, Wesley Matthews were missing, Danny Green was going to make those shots.
Yeah, Danny Green's also a 3-and-D guy. He'll not only make the shots, he can still defend on the ball. Look, it's very simple why the Lakers lost. I'm sorry, Perk. It's not about the role players in this case. It's the injuries to the superstars. Every team in the league would make the same deal the Lakers made. If you could push all your chips to the middle of the table and wind up with LeBron and AD, which is going to thin out your roster, you're putting all your resources into grabbing AD and getting him to L.A., you're going to do that. You're going to do that. Even though you know LeBron's up there in age, and so there's a higher chance of injury, and even though you know AD is injury prone, you're still going to make that deal. Everyone would do it. The Lakers did it. And guess what? They won a championship year 1. This is only year 2. Last year they were healthy. This year they're hurt. It was pretty obvious that if LeBron and AD would have been healthy, they'd have won the series. They'd have won the series. Now, you brought up a good point earlier, Perk. If Chris Paul was also healthy, I'd say it wouldn't have even gone 7 games. Maybe with a healthy Chris Paul, it would have. Lakers would have won. Lakers would have won that series. They have enough with the role players that they would have won the series. It's not about the peripheral stuff. It's about the fact that your entire team revolves around 2 superstar pillars. One of them was on the court and compromised, still got you to single digits after being down almost 30. And the other one couldn't get on the court for more than a couple minutes. That's it. That's the whole story. Not more complicated than that.
It is a little bit more complicated than that, Max, but I understand why you wouldn't get that. Here's the deal, KP. When we look at LeBron, here's what we have to hold him accountable for. And we don't want to use the word fault because he's dependable. He's reliable. He does not cheat the game. But when you think back, and we've talked about these stories, Kendrick, when we talked about MJ, for example, and MJ loses, all right? He goes out, he retires the first go-round, he comes back, they lose to Orlando when Nick Anderson, Dennis Scott, those boys got the better of him. Michael Jordan was training the next day. He gave the players 2 weeks off and then said, have your behinds back here. And they were on it. And that mission was that mission. And then the next season is when they won the 72 games and they had acquired Dennis Rodman and all of that stuff. If you recall, Kendrick Perkins, because you're a champion, you played in the league, and you know every damn body. So you know what I'm about to say is very, very true. The Lakers were lollygagging this year. Not LeBron, but the Lakers. You won the game. You won the championship. You in Tinseltown. You in L.A. You were feeling yourself a little bit. Everybody that was around them was talking about their body language. They wasn't as focused. They weren't as locked in. They were relieved, feeling themselves, enjoying it. And who's the person to hold them accountable to say, hell no, we got another championship to go after? Who's that person?
It's LeBron.
There you go.
Yeah, but Stephen A, it's a totally different team though. We talking about they added Dennis Schroeder right to the lineup. We talking about a guy that averaged 19 points a game last year. They added Montrezl Harrell that won the Sixth Man of the Year award that averaged close to 20 last year. They added this firepower to take and relieve some of the pressure off LeBron James and AD because they knew it was. tougher. And what happened? Dennis Schroeder didn't win a championship last year.
I
He's
agree.
fighting for
But Kuzma did. Kuzma did. Markieff Morris did. Anthony Davis did.
And
Alex Caruso did.
But Stephen A., this is why I'm telling you and Max right now and Molly the value of a Rajon Rondo with that system.
I agree with that.
That's
Let me
why
say
I'm
this.
saying that. With that system. Because we all know that LeBron James hasn't been on record for his team-wise, and I've been on the team. He's not a vocal leader in the locker room. He just shows by example. Rajon Rondo is a coach that is a player that is a coach that happens to be on the floor. You see what I'm saying? He's the difference.
Let me say this. Having lived in L.A., I know New York is about dealing with pressure. L.A. is about dealing with distractions. It's not for everyone. It was for Kobe Bryant. You know, all the things that how Kobe took advantage of L.A. was after he retired. Kobe wasn't letting anything in L.A. get in between him and his career goals. Beach. Not everyone is built like that. Kobe was. L.A. and Kobe, good match that way. It's not for everyone. Rondo, good match that way, not for everyone.
And that's why we should applaud D. Wade and Chris Bosh, because Miami is a distraction.
Big distraction.
Okay? But them brothers were focused. That's a distraction. Lord have mercy. It's a distraction.
There's just no denying it.
I'm just saying.
Are we done?
Miami's New York on the beach. New York, but everyone's wearing bathing suits.
I don't even know where to go from here. I was going to wrap. I was going to wrap by saying LeBron averaged 23 this postseason, his fewest in a playoff run, but it doesn't really feel fitting. Did somebody order a pivotal Game 6? Clippers Mavs tonight is on the menu as Kawhi and the Clips face elimination. All eyes on Paul George and Kawhi Leonard on whether or not they can force a Game 7 against a tough Luka Doncic in Dallas. Stephen A., what's at stake for the Clips tonight?
Relevancy.
Caught in my hair, sorry.
Relevancy, and that's pushing it. I mean, listen. Kawhi Leonard, you know, 1 minute you're hearing he's going to leave for South Beach. Another minute you're hearing he's going to stay in L.A. because he's got no desire to go elsewhere. But I got to tell you, Max, and Molly and Max, you guys have lived here. You know where I'm going. Mm-hmm. I mean, this town is just a different place when the Lakers are relevant. Yeah. I mean, the Clippers are, they're the equivalent of a high school environment compared to the NBA that is the Los Angeles Lakers. And for the Los Angeles Lakers to bow out in the first round, primarily due to injury. But you to bounce out in the first round because you get outplayed and completely destroyed by Luka Doncic because Dallas doesn't have much else. Not to disrespect anybody else. I like Jalen Brunson and his development. I like what I'm seeing from him. Tim Hardaway Jr., got a lot of love for him. Porzingis, don't get me started. I don't even want to get into him, okay? Luka Doncic is that dude. He's big boying everybody. Got my man Patrick Beverly on the bench, not even in the rotation because he's just too small for Luka Doncic. All right, Rondo isn't much bigger. He can't do anything with him. Paul George can't seem to do anything with him. He is big boying everybody. He's not supposed to be able to do that to Kawhi Leonard, and that's where my eyes are on. The dangling from the mirror with the crown. A new king has arrived in L.A. Yo, this is your time. This is your chance. I can see the Clippers winning tonight in Dallas and then going back and losing at the Staples Center Sunday for a fourth time in this series. A lot's at stake.
Well, I mean, I guess, you know, the Lakers keep leaving the door open for the Clippers, and the Clippers just keep shutting the door. And this goes back, Stephen A., to Donald Sterling. You know why? If you say, who's the worst owner in sports, you have to think about it now. Because once upon a time, it was easy. It was Donald Sterling, and he owned the Clippers. And, you know, the Clippers were always a punching bag. You think about CP3. Lakers trade successfully for CP3. League makes them undo it, sends them to the Clippers, basically. So they have Lob City. The Lakers are done. Kobe's at the end. There's no supporting cast. And here's the Clippers' time. They can't get it done. Now the Lakers get knocked out of the playoffs. Here it comes. Kawhi can at least, as an individual player, take over L.A. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. But the thing about the Clippers, Stephen A., is it's not like, you know, they're a frog who's now Prince Charming, or vice versa. They're Prince Charming, now they're a frog. They've always been a frog. They've never been Prince Charming. It's not like, well, you know, they're now going to turn back into what? What are they now? They're not the Lakers. They'll never be the Lakers. They've never taken over in any sense the imagination of the basketball world, because when the Lakers give them the opportunity, they don't seize it. And this looks like another missed opportunity for the Clippers.
Well, they better handle their business because, listen, let me tell you something right now. Lakers, LeBron's already out there. He's going to try to recruit. He's going to try to recruit. And you know they're going to try to get somebody to L.A. There's no question about it. You know, and I mean, again, we've already spent time talking about Damian Lillard. What if Damian Lillard ended up changing his mind? I told you, he's told me for years he ain't interested. What if he changed his mind and decided he want to go to the Lakers? What if he changed his mind? I mean, it changed everything. So, I mean, the Clippers have a chance to be relevant.
Lakers,
as far as I'm concerned, Steve Ballmer should move to Orange County, move to Anaheim, or move the team to Seattle.
Seattle.
I love
Back
Orange
to
County.
Seattle.
Orange County is lovely,
Orange County.
Orange
I would
County
live
is
in
lovely.
Orange County in a heartbeat.
They love
Newport. Oh my God, it's incredible. Laguna.
They love basketball up in Seattle, and they've had their hearts broken since their franchise was taken away.
Sports town.
Great sports town. Bring them right
Seattle.
back up to Seattle. But literally, when you say what's at stake in terms of that stuff,
Yeah. And Stephen A., to your point, talking about living in L.A., people care more about USC than they care about the Clippers. That's just what it is in that town. All right, we'll keep it rolling. They wanted the Nets, and they got them. The Milwaukee Bucks will face the Nets tomorrow night as Brooklyn will host Giannis and company to begin the Eastern Conference semifinals, arguably one of the more exciting matchups we'll see these playoffs. Stephen A., what can the Bucks do to win this series?
Giannis has to be a superstar. He has to be a superstar. Those same numbers that you see from him during the regular season, he's got to do that in the playoffs. But here's what he has to do. He's the only person, first of all, nobody, in my opinion, really has a chance to do it. But if anybody has a chance to defend respectably against Kevin Durant, it's the Greek freak Giannis Antetokounmpo. The length, the athleticism, he's got to show up, and he's going to have to be a formidable opposition to KD, because let me tell you something, Kyrie and James Harden are going to do their thing, but I think collectively Milwaukee's defense could hang tough. I think KD is going to be the difference maker. You cannot let him destroy you at his will. Somebody's going to have to try to put him in check in order to knock off the Brooklyn Nets. That's what it's going to come down to.
The difference maker is going to be James Harden, because he can run D'Antoni's system now with D'Antoni on the bench there under Steve Nash. Except instead of second-rate weapons, he has KD and Kyrie. And by the way, guys like Joe Harris as fourth option. This is what the Bucks can do, Stephen A. They can be very, very aggressive offensively early in the series. And the reason I say that is because early on, before I really believed in the Nets, their defense was the worst of all time. They're the best offense of all time, literally, per 100 possessions, and the worst defense of all time. And within 2 or 3 weeks, they had a respectable enough defense, sort of mid-pack defense. Well,
More
everyone
like
got healthy again, and they gotta and now they got to get it together defensively. The offense is fine. I mean, it could be better, but it'll get better. The question is, has there been enough time for that defense to start getting connected? If the answer is no, the Bucks have to be extremely aggressive offensively early in the series, especially, and maybe they can jump up 2-1 and have a chance to win it. Because if they're not, the Nets will roll them.
All right, we'll keep going, guys. Earlier this week, we saw Trae Young take a bow, Stephen A. remembers, on one of basketball's biggest stages after knocking out the Knicks in the Garden. And Ben Simmons, triple-double, helping rout the Wizards at home. And now they'll meet each other. Max, bigger key to this series, Trae Young or Ben Simmons?
It's actually Ben Simmons. You know, Trae Young does a thing that's easy to understand. He scores, and that's very, very important. And he's fearless, and he scores from everywhere. Ben Simmons doesn't do that. He can't shoot, and Trae Young really can. You know what Ben Simmons does? Ben Simmons does, this is almost not hyperbolic. This is almost like literally just about every single thing else, as well as anyone who's ever played has ever done them. Think about that. He's an all-world defender. We'll remember Ben Simmons' defense year from now. Can guard all 5 positions, many of them at a totally elite level. I keep bringing it up, has created more looks from 3 for teammates than anyone since entering the league. He has absurd handles for a guy who's 6'10". He's lightning fast. He has hops. He has superior court vision and is an all-time great passer. So he does every single other thing like at an all-time elite level except shoot. Give me that guy, Stephen A. Defense wins championships.
You're wrong. And you're wrong because when you look at a Tobias Harris, when you look at the Seth Curry, when you look at the defensive wizardry that you've pointed out on numerous occasions of both Ben Simmons and Thibault, then this is what it comes down to. It comes down to Trae Young resembling the Trae Young that he looked like against the New York Knicks. See, what you did against the New York Knicks, you had an abundance of opportunities to do it because the New York Knicks couldn't hit the backside of Broadway if they were standing on it. That was their damn problem. That's not going to be the Philadelphia 76ers' problems. They've got dudes like Maxey and Tobias Harris and Seth Curry and Danny Green who can make shots. Of course, Ben Simmons is going to facilitate them making shots because he's going to feed them the basketball because he's an exceptional playmaker with a high basketball IQ. But for the Atlanta Hawks, if Trae Young plays the way that he played, averaged 29 and 10 against the New York Knicks, doing what he's capable of doing. He's not just a shooter. He's not just a scorer. He's a ball handler, and he's an incredible passer as well. This brother can pass the basketball. And if you're getting Collins and Herter and Hunter and all of these dudes involved in the offense the way you're capable of doing, the way you showed everybody you could do against the New York Knicks, then the Philadelphia 76ers could be in a world of trouble without a healthy Joel Embiid.
You hear what Simmons told Seth Curry before the last game?
I did
Playing
not.
video games before the game, he said, I'm going to need 30 out of you. I'll do the rest. I'll get my, but I need you to go for 30 tonight. And what happened? You talk about leadership and stuff. There you go.
Guys, we have like 2 minutes left. I just want to get to it. Max, how dangerous are the Nuggets? Obviously, no Jamal Murray. They face the Suns. CP3 banged up. What do you think?
It's a shame that Jamal Murray's not healthy because I think they could get out of the West. Even without Jamal Murray, maybe they get out of the West. Jokic is the best player in every series he's in, and that'll continue to be the case throughout the Western Conference. He'll be the best player in every single series. And they have a deep backcourt. No Jamal Murray, but a lot of guys who can score, who can handle. The Nuggets are live to get out of the West, Stephen A.
Let me tell you something right now, man. You can say that they're live, and I believe you. And I ain't taking anything away from Jokic because he's the real deal. I have a vote. I voted him as my league MVP. No apologies there. But I got something to tell you. Jamal Murray getting hurt has pushed Michael Porter Jr. to the forefront. And this brother is special. This brother's special. I'm going to tell you how special Michael Porter is. Forget the 18 points that he averaged in this first round series. What am I looking at? He shot 53% for the field, 41.5% for three-point range, had 22 points in the first quarter in Game 6. You want me to tell you the ultimate thing that you need to know about Michael Porter Jr.? We actually get to sit here and say the great, phenomenal executive that is Jerry West made a mistake. Remember when he was with the Clippers, Max, even though it was a consultant, they had the 13th and the 12th pick. And both picks, he passed up because he was worried about his back. Yep. We're looking at, that's how great Michael Porter looks right now. What a mistake on the part of the Clippers to pass up on him.
Yeah, for sure. Clippers, Mavs, that's tonight, do or die on ESPN. We got a ton of good playoff this weekend. Have a fabulous weekend, guys. We'll all be back on Monday.